Welcome to the Alex Spicer Show. This is Alex Spicer speaking. Yeah, you know me. So, it's been an interesting week, really. I mean, I thought everything was going to be pretty normal since last week's episode. But then the Charlottesville attack happened. And as much as, as much as I don't like focusing on all of the negative things that happened, that happened in the news, happened around the world, that gets reported, I do like to discuss things that are important, that I feel like highlight certain important things. Now, looking at what happened in Charlottesville and seeing the response to it, I am very shocked and ashamed at multiple things. First, that you have all these people who are white supremacists who just exist, period. Not saying I want them to not exist as a human being, but I mean that their prejudices are still there, that they still exist, and they still are a prevalent force in America. But on the other hand, I'm also very disgusted and very shocked at the response and how people have turned this into a race-only issue and have even started blaming all white people and everything. Here's the thing. I am religious, and if you're listening to this, odds are you are religious, because religion is super important, and because we are religious, I am a Christian, and if you're a Christian, then you believe and you understand that race does not matter. You believe like the founding fathers did, when they said that all men are created equal. It never said all men are created equal, but we do like to take notice of what color their skin is or where they come from. No, all men, meaning all mankind, are created equal. And I'm so tired of all of this race-focused rhetoric, this focus on whites against blacks, blacks against whites, or whatever else, some sort of minority against a majority. It needs to stop. The truth is, we will not have unity in America until we stop focusing on all the ridiculous diversity. And what I mean by ridiculous diversity, I mean that we focus on every minuscule thing, including morally deviant behavior, as a sign of our diversity. That is disgusting. We don't need diversity. We need unity. I don't need to care that someone is of a different race. I just need to care that they are an American. They are my fellow countrymen, and that they are a son or daughter of God. That's what I care about. I don't like to pin a badge of victimhood upon any person, regardless of who they are and where they're from. I believe empowerment is the most important thing that you can give to someone, by teaching them to be responsible and accountable for what they do. If you want to talk about focusing on race and how so people are being hurt by others, then I just gotta tell you that you are going about solving problems the wrong way. Look at these individuals by the potential that they have, and not by their circumstances, and not by the physical characteristics of their bodies. Honestly, I have seen true oppression and poverty. I have been to third world countries, and I know what that looks like. I know what that is. And even when I was in the Philippines for a while, and people there really are oppressed and really do not have a lot of freedom of opportunity and equality. But you know what? When I was there and I was teaching them about the gospel. I was a missionary. And not once did our message, and it's not in any of our programs, it's not in any of the materials that we prepare, it's not in any of the scriptural verses from the Bible that we share with them. None of it ever focused upon them as a victim. It always focused upon empowering them to become better, to change their lives through faith in Jesus Christ. And faith, just period, faith alone, whether or not you believe in Jesus, doesn't matter. It just, yes, in an eternal perspective and in my own personal religious view, that does matter. But what I mean is, when you're talking about circumstances and changing and improving, what matters the most is that you have the faith. You believe that you can take action and change, that you can do something about your life. So I am sick and tired of all the racism and all this race focus, which, to be honest, a lot of it, it exploded into our faces the last 8 years with the last president. And honestly, I would like it to just go away, but it's not going to go away because people are valuing race more than merit. But here's the other side of this whole scenario. We cannot just assume that someone is of a certain ideology and belief just because they do not support your particular belief or ideology. Some people look at what happened and what they say is, and this is what I've heard, that, you know what, if you see what happened in Charlottesville and that guy, drove his car into the crowd and killed that lady, if you're white, you need to stand up and say something about this. How about if you're American, you stand up and say something about this, because this is wrong no matter what race you are. And saying that if you're white, you need to stand up and stand against this, to me, that is saying that all people, because they share the same race as the lunatic, as the evil person who drove into that crowd, by saying that just because we share the same race, we now share allegiance and even like affiliation with that person is a gross misrepresentation of people in general. It really is. And it's disgusting, and it's very rude and demeaning to all of us, all Americans. I'm not just talking about white Americans. I'm talking about all Americans. People can have their own beliefs, can be part of their own groups, and that's what they choose to believe. But that does not mean all Americans, all people in general, because they share a certain physical characteristic like the color of their skin or where they're from, does not mean that they share affiliation and that they are responsible for coming out and speaking out against this as that so-called affiliated person. To speak out against them as an American, that is the right thing to do, because we should adhere to certain principles, that we all stand in solidarity for certain principles. But here's one last aspect of this whole scenario. When you read history, what is your response? What do you do when you come across something you don't like? I'll read the Bible, I'll read the Old Testament, and I'll go, whoa. Some of that stuff is a little bit crazy. Like, what do those guys do? Jacob's children, man. This is what I think about Jacob's children. They did some really crazy stuff. What? Reuben did what? Judah did what? Those guys, wow. And I don't say, let's erase this from these pages. I say we should learn more about it. And the reason why I share that example about Jacob's children, and the 12 tribes of Israel, all those individuals, it's because I actually just recently watched a movie with my wife. I believe it's called Joseph. It was the TV show film adaptation of the whole story, but they went over all of it, and it just reminded me of just how those guys, they did a lot of crazy things. But when you go over history and you come across things you aren't necessarily comfortable with, do you try to cover it up and ignore it? Or do you try to do your best to learn from it? The point of history, as someone once said, and I'm not sure who, they said, but the point of reviewing history is so that you do not repeat it. And I really believe that we should look at history in its full sphere. In all honesty, that way we can be honest with where we are now and with what has happened, and how do we avoid making the same mistakes? How do we improve upon where we are going? So, we shouldn't glorify those who have done evil, but we also shouldn't try to act like it never happened. I stand for freedom. I stand for equality. but more importantly, I stand for unity. This is just another crazy thing that has happened in America that is being used to try to divide us. I, for one, am not standing for it. I'm sick of it. Yes, America is a diverse place. We have lots of people here from all sorts of walks of life. We come from different experiences, different backgrounds. We even have immigrants from all over the world. But it is not by focusing on what makes us different that makes us stronger. That actually breaks us down into tribalism, into be divided because we can't agree, we can't compromise, we can't mutually agree on things because we choose to not relate, because we go, oh, well, because let's say you're of that race, you can't understand my plight, you can't understand me at all. But the point of being fellow Americans and citizens is to help understand one another. I mean, honestly, if you think about it, if we can't understand, we can't relate, and we can't take action, if we can't relate and do those things, then we won't take action. And if we can't, then there's no real progress to be made, especially to help those who are being hurt or harmed. For example, in the Civil War, we never would have fought the Civil War. We never would have tried to free slaves if we would have decided we can't understand those people. We can't relate. We can't even begin to go there because they are slaves and we are not. No. Instead, we looked at what was happening to them, and we decided to say, you know what? All men are created equal. That means they are equal in the value of their lives. Their life is no more valuable than mine, and mine is no more valuable than theirs. And that they deserve a chance at freedom, at life, at prosperity, at liberty. And that we should take the risk to try to free them because we would hope that someone would do the same for us in our rights. If we fought so valiantly for ourselves in the American Revolution, we can fight so valiantly for those who are oppressed within our own systems, within our own government. And that those sort of things happened because we decided we could relate, because they were another human being. They were one of us. So please stop focusing on race and all those things. It doesn't matter your race. What matters is that you are an American. You are a child of God. We are all created together. We are all created equally. And so therefore we can talk together. We can come together. And yes, we as a mixed group of people can be united against those who are bigots, against those who are evil. I hope that we can come together and really, I really hope we can just discredit a lot of those media moguls and talking heads and media outlets that are just trying to fan the flame of hatred and division. We need to come together. We need each other more than any other time in our history, in recent history, I should say. We really need each other. Thank you so much for listening to The Alex Spicer Show. If you liked what you heard, hit that like button. And if you have any questions or comments, write them below. I love to answer any questions you might have. Let me know what you thought. And I will talk to you all next week. Live free till next time.